A very good evening to everyone. I am Neha, Ambassador of Change for GETI, that is Global Education and Training Institute, an idea about which we just had, a visual look at the idea of GETI and what we do underneath it. And today I'm very honored and excited to have amongst us this evening, all the way from Athens, Greece, Mr. Dimitri Paramilis. If I'm so sorry if am I pronouncing that right, sir? Is that correct?
That's fine. Yes, Primalis, thank you very much. It's my honor
Primalis.
to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Sir is basically, he is an ELF department coordinator for primary section and the kindergarten section in his school, that is Duclis School, based in Athens, Greece, once again. And also sir is also a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellow. I think which sounds very interesting now, and I would love to know more about what this accreditation means and how he is helping the education sector with this accreditation. But before that, I would also like to once again warmly welcome you. And sir, today we'll be talking about learning technology in a post-COVID era, I think, which is very important since we've spent almost 2.5 years of the education sector with technology. So it's very important that we embrace it in a way that it helps us ahead in the schooling for teachers and students both. A very warm welcome once again to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, and would love you to please take us through your agenda today.
Thank you very much. Now let me see if I can share my presentation. Yes, as you said, we spent nearly 2.5 years working with technology, trying very, very hard to adopt. Some people have had enough. And now people seem to be turning against technology. Now, before we start the presentation, I don't know if we can see people can see that on their screen. Okay. I would like you to go to www.menti.com and use this code. And I want you to write which factors you think affect the use of technology. Well, obviously, COVID is one of them. You can try that. We can have the link on the chat. Neha maybe can help me. She can type the website and the code. What I would like you to do there is I would like you to, first of all, this is a word cloud. I want you to write in the form of 1 or 2 or 5 words, if you want to, the factors that might affect the use of technology. So if Neha has actually typed it, then maybe we can proceed with the presentation.
I have typed the code and I have typed the website, that is menti.com, and the code is the one.
Yep. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, now I can actually share my presentation. All right. First of all, I would like to say that I'm a frontline teacher as well, and I love technology. I've used it extensively over those 2.5 years, but there's a big question arising now. All right. I think now we can see my presentation. Yes. How can we keep making the most of it? Now, first of all, let me make clear what I mean with learning technology. I think the definition given by Turvey covers me. We're talking about the broader context of technology, enhanced learning, as children learn to use learning technology effectively and critically across many domains of learning and curricula. I'm not talking strictly about devices, but I'm actually talking about how technology can actually be used to stimulate learning, and how it can be used to enhance the learner output and achieve learning goals. Now, obviously, the big question is, why technology? And we're going to talk a little bit about it. The factors that affect sustainability, how can we keep using technology in the future? And how can we make sure that our students and teachers are not sick and tired of it? And obviously, we're going to discuss the path to sustainable use. use that will actually help learners and teachers and educators benefit to a great extent from using technology without reaching a saturation point. Now, the first question arising is, why technology? Do we need technology again? Now we're back to...
One second. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, sir, but I think you're on the second slide, but I'm still able to see the first slide only. That is how can
right. Uh-huh. Okay. Can you see now the third slide? Let me try again.
no. I
No.
think I think I'll tell you the trick over there. Maybe share your
Yeah.
presentation again. I'll show you the trick over there. It's a little trick that
Oh,
you have to manually go to each slide and manually press the slide so that we can see the change instead of
okay.
using your keyboard.
All right. Let me see. Well, let's see if we can make it work. If not, we can do without slides. Technology is there to make our life easier and not more difficult. All
I
right.
can. It's there. It's there. It's there. One second.
Okay. All right. I won't actually. Okay, good.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there are many reasons why we should continue using technology. First of all, technology helps us include learners with difficulties. We're talking about learners who suffer from ADHD, suffering from all learning difficulties, or simply weaker students. How many times is it that you as educators feel that you wish you had more time to focus on their needs? How many times is it that you've played a video or there was a listening text that you did with your learners and you felt, oh my God, I wish I had some more time and they could listen to it again? Now, obviously, technology allows us to do that. Students can watch videos again at home, at their own time, at their own pace, or they can do a listening text or a reading text. They can even be given instant feedback. You can send them feedback if you want to, discreetly, without telling the rest of the class. You can easily send them either through an email, or if you're using a platform, through a chat, or actually some platforms have special facilities for providing feedback. This feedback can be written, it can be in the form of a video, or it can be in the form of a voice recording, which makes it far more personal for the students. And it does make a difference because you personalize feedback. Whereas in class, it would be far too difficult to expose students to oral feedback without the others listening. It also promotes efficient and autonomous learning. Asynchronous learning seems to be picking up. Students can actually, at their own time, can access more exercises. They can access more online texts. They can be exposed to real-life language in terms of video, audio, you name it. Which actually means that your stronger students can actually seek material which is closer to their level, while weaker students can actually do some more revision stuff. Technology gives us numerous opportunities for collaboration between students. We saw that during the pandemic when we shared documents. You could share a PowerPoint, you could share a Word or a Google document, and students could actually work together. But it also gives opportunities for synergy. I'm an English teacher. I'm not an IT teacher. I'm here to help you learn English. But you, and I mean you, the students, obviously, because you're digital natives, because you were born with technology, you know how to use it much more efficiently than I do, you can help me. So obviously, if there's a synergy, if we work together, we can achieve much better learning, a learning outcome, and we can achieve in a much easier way the learning goals that we have set for this class. And from my experience, whenever you ask students who might not be very good at English or any other subject, but they're very good at using technology, they are far more willing to take part in the lesson, to be actively engaged, because they feel that you trust them, you give them responsibility, and in a way, it's a sort of recognition. And let's face it, Not all students are good at languages, not all students are good at maths, or whatever you teach them. And finally, obviously there are many more reasons, but finally, I would say keeping up with the real world. All our students use mobile phones, tablets, laptops, towers, you name it, so that they can contact each other. They can find out what's happening in the real world. Why not keep using it? I'm not saying that we should stop using books or traditional means of teaching, but obviously technology is there, and what we need to do is make sure that we use it efficiently and we use it to the benefit of the learners. Now, the big question raised is, how can we sustain learning technology? And how can we do that seamlessly? Yes, I know teachers have had enough. Very often when I talk with teachers, they simply go, no, not technology again. We've had enough. We just want to go back to our good old teaching ways. The only problem is that these good old teaching ways, they reflect the needs and the aspirations of the previous century, if not the previous millennium. Now, what can we do and how can we make sure that we can sustain learning technology, A, without tiring or exhausting anybody, and B, making sure that we can make the most of it? Well, one factor that affects it, obviously, is in-house training. And I will explain what I mean by that. Most schools had to, one way or another, train their educators practically overnight, most of the times, to use technology. Now, obviously, this in-house training kept going for quite some time. Now, the main question is the in-house training that we receive as educators, is it focused on our needs or is it something general? In other words, do educators know very well how to use it in a specific context and for to cater for the needs of the learners and the school, as they have set the goals and as they have set those priorities? Another crucial question is, who's the trainer? Very often, I notice that it's IT people. And of course, IT people are experts. That's true. However, from my experience, usually there's lack of communication between educators of other subjects and IT people. It's not because they're not willing to communicate or convey the main idea. It's simply because they speak a different language. What IT people take for granted is something that's usually a mystery to most educators. It's let me play a part with my country of origin. It all seems Greek to them. So obviously there's a gap of understanding. There's a rift between these two fields of science, and obviously if the trainer is a teacher who has been using technology, it's far easier for her or him to convey the message. Another factor we should take into consideration is whether educators are extrinsically motivated. Those who are intrinsically motivated, they will do it anyway. No matter what happens, they might spend sleepless nights trying to find more things about how to integrate technology. But the question is, does the institution help? Is continuous professional development appreciated and supported? And if so, how is this done? I know that most institutions usually carry out surveys. If technology is part of that survey, it usually helps. And it usually helps understand whether people would be willing to keep using technology, and if so, to what extent, which tools would be suitable for their needs. Now, another factor that seems to be crucial seems to be collaboration among teachers and peer support. Doing my dissertation for my master's degree a few years ago, I realized that collaboration between teachers and peer support can actually alleviate them from the strain and the burden of finding out everything by themselves. It's much easier for a teacher to understand how a tool is used or how a platform is used or how this could actually be used to the benefit of their learners if they share it with their colleagues, if they ask support from another peer who has tried it, and they themselves in turn could actually share a part of their expertise. There are literally thousands of tools. There are millions of good ideas out there, and there are examples of best practices that most of the times educators tend to keep for themselves, not because they don't want to, but because they're too shy to share, or they feel that they will be intimidated if they try to do that. And obviously, institutions, schools that would like to make good use of the technology that they have been using so far, most schools have invested heavily in that, and they wouldn't like to see those tools in terms of hardware and software to be wasted, to go down the drain without actually paying back. Paying back in terms of helping learners achieve progress. So this is another factor that needs to be taken into consideration, and usually teachers welcome that. It's much easier, you feel much easier to talk to another colleague rather than asking a trainer or rather than asking your director of studies about something that you haven't understood. Plus, it creates a culture of sharing, and let's face it, education is not only technology. Education is about sharing good ideas, promoting projects. Sometimes one or two ideas can actually be combined and they can build a super idea. And this is what motivates educators as well. Now, one more factor that needs to be taken into consideration is obviously parents. There's parents' resistance. I don't know what's happening in other countries, but in Greece, parents usually resist. They feel that their kids are overexposed to technology. Very often, students will abuse technology, and they will use it to play games, to visit sites other than educational ones. From my experience, if clear goals are set from the very beginning of the year, and if parents are informed about how the school and the educators intend to use technology and why they intend to do that. For instance, we intend to use Kahoot, which is a very popular gamification tool. We intend to do that so that students can actually revise in a pleasant way. They can get instant feedback because they get instant feedback. And this allows the educators to get a clear picture of the learners' progress so that they can give them feedback, delayed feedback, probably in another session or then days, and help them improve their skills. Another point that needs that I think we should focus on is that we should regard parents as allies. So whenever parents contact us about something suspicious or they feel insecure about something, paying attention to what they say, taking seriously into consideration what they say, and sometimes inquiring it will definitely give them a feeling of security. And obviously, parents can be a very powerful ally in our attempt to exploit technology as an educational tool rather than a game machine. Now, obviously, people like me who love technology sometimes might be over-enthusiastic. So another factor that's worth talking about is over-enthusiasm. Very often I'm asked by teachers and educators, how many tools should they be using? over the year, during the year, and how much, what share of the lesson should technology take? In my opinion, what needs to be very clear to the educator is the learning aims, the aims that they have set for their students. Now, there are many tasks which can be achieved either with the help of technology or in a very traditional way. It is the educator that needs to decide whether their goal will be achieved better by using technology, and if so, to which extent, and whether the class is actually willing to use technology or not. There are classes who adore technology, and they usually do stuff that they wouldn't do otherwise. For example, writing a blog post, whereas if you ask them to write something on their notebook, they would be rather unwilling. Obviously, using technology from the first minute till the last minute is an exaggeration. It's basically the teachers who need to decide how to exploit it in the best way. Now, if we go up, when we had a problem with the slides, I can't see the slides, but that's all right. Another point that I would like to mention is digital literacy. Now, very often we take it for granted that our students know everything about technology, which is not the truth, actually. They know very well how to use devices, but I'm not quite sure they know, they're aware of the netiquette, in other words, the rules of using technology, because very often they might use inappropriately social media. And the problem is that nobody has actually taught them. The question is, have we integrated digital literacy in our lesson? Are we digitally literate? Do we know how to use properly devices? How to make sure that we are discreet when we use technology and that we don't expose our learners? Have we taught our learners to respect each other? Because usually most of the problems that arise, they arise from the bad use of devices, or because students simply feel that they can use devices which are meant to be educational tools for entertainment purposes. I know that some of you might be wondering, where on earth am I going to find time to do that? The truth is, it's time well spent. If you train your learners from day one, and if you set strict rules about how technology is used, they benefit because in their real life, later on, that'll save them from a lot of trouble. I mean, there were cases when people lost their scholarship. There was a Harvard student who lost his scholarship because he swore on his social media, which was inappropriate. And of course, it brought Harvard to a difficult position. There are issues of plagiarism, what we all know as copy-paste. And obviously, this is part of academic training. So integrating digital literacy in our lessons and devoting some time, I'm not saying that they should take most of our lesson, but it should take, it should be part of our planning. It will definitely pay back. It's an investment which is very much appreciated in the long run. And as an English teacher, I can tell you that it's very easy for me to integrate part of digital literacy and digital citizenship in my lesson, because there are so many videos on YouTube. There's so much free material to use on the internet. Now, before I close, and I don't know if there will be any questions from the audience, I would like to share with you the path to sustaining innovation and change I work at a school that introduced the one-to-one approach, which means that every student from 4th grade on have got their own device. 11, 12 years ago, it was a netbook. After that, it was a tablet, and it still is a tablet. Now, the problem that we had was that all students from 4th grade on bought their devices, but the question was, how could we integrate innovation and change in a successful way? Obviously, there are many models of how technology can be integrated. The one that we tried and we found that actually worked was, as I mentioned earlier, setting clear aims and designing the syllabus. Then training the teachers was a very important part, because teachers learned how to use technology, and they knew what we expected, what we were expected to do. I was a teacher back then, and they felt that they could do it. Piloting material and using equipment was very important. We gradually started using it, and then we modified the syllabus based on the feedback. The feedback given by students, parents, and by teachers as well. And as I mentioned earlier, parents and learners were involved actively. Parents were trained, teachers were open to answer questions, and of course, learners were assigned responsibilities, and of course, they could express their views. Setting clear rules and aims from day one was something that actually helped. And finally, we implemented innovation on a large scale. Once innovation was implemented, innovators, teachers needed support. Feedback given from teachers, parents, and learners was assessed. And finally, there were further modifications in the syllabus, and the aims were redefined. I would like to mention Mr. Drivers, I don't know if he can hear us now, who played an instrumental role in implementing this model. And the part where innovators were supported, apart from IT experts and trainers, a key role was the peer support and collaboration among colleagues. I would like to thank you. I don't know if there are any questions. You can find me either on Twitter, or you can email me if you have any questions. Neha, have we got any questions?
Yes, I do have some questions, and thank you very much for that very, I think very insightful presentation. I think if you'd go and check your Mentimeter right now, I think you might have received some responses, because I do see people reacting to the, the quote that I've sent. So maybe, just check if you have some insights over there.
No, I can't see anything.
You might see
maybe.
You might see after a while, probably. But completely okay.
All right, but that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I can actually answer the questions.
Absolutely. Great. So one question that we have is, since we're a teacher training institute ourselves, and you put very much, a lot of emphasis on teacher training, and also I really love the point where you stated that, yes, it's very true, and it's very true in India as well, that when we train our teachers, we generally have people from the IT department come and train teachers who at some point get very frustrated when teachers are not able to, understand the concept, because obviously teachers are new to it. But the idea of a teacher who has already been into tech, teaching teachers, brings a lot of empathy into the question. They understand the situation of teachers that they're going through. So I would love if you could elaborate on this point, and maybe also give us some more ideas as to how teacher training can be done in the context of tech, so that we also have some takeaways. And I'm sure the audience who is watching us mostly we have teachers and educators as well only. So I think it's going to be a takeaway for them as well.
All right. Well, first of all, it doesn't have to be, we're not talking about high technology. It's not rocket science. Most teachers are tempted to use a tool. It could be a very simple tool. I'll use Kahoot because Kahoot seems to be very, very popular, or quizzes. Not everybody has been using that. So you can easily invite somebody who has tried that with their class to share it with the rest of the school. Or you can even encourage them to share that at a local conference, because very, very often there are local conferences. And because they have used it, obviously they can answer some questions. This can easily be combined if there is an IT person as well, because the educator will present things from an educator's point of view, but obviously an IT person might be able to go into technical detail that the educator might not be feeling very comfortable sharing, or they might even not know. That's not their job, obviously. And I think it's very important. It plays an instrumental role in encouraging educators to use that if the directors of studies or the head teachers encourage them to pilot it. I'm not saying that anybody should go into the classroom and they try anything they like. Usually, though, when there are meetings, when there is planning, one or two teachers might be encouraged to use a new tool, and then they can share the performance of the tool, how they felt about it. Very often, they might have samples of student work. And usually educators, what they actually need is tangible, solid advice. I went into the classroom, this worked, this didn't work. If I tried that again, I would probably do it this way because my students reacted in a nice way. I would avoid doing that because, and this will definitely encourage learners and educators.
That's a very good point, I think. And also, one more question before we wrap up is, the awareness that parents and teachers have to develop when it comes to giving away tech to their children. That's a very important point. Teachers, I don't know much, but parents, yes, are very resistant when it comes to, a school using too much technology. And even though it's good reading time, bad reading time, it's all, sometimes smoke and mirrors for parents, especially. But so, what's the awareness over here for parents, especially, and also if you would like to highlight for teachers?
I think if you make very clear to the parents from day one, actually before school starts, there are usually parents meetings with parents, and you analyze very clearly, you present what you intend to achieve. Then most of the resistance goes away. And there's another thing as well. Most of my students have that. They even sleep with that. They carry it with them 24 hours a day. If there's any way that the students can make a better use of that, then obviously parents will become allies. Yes, there are certain considerations. For example, I know that most schools have got firewalls which do not allow access to malware or unsafe sites. Yes, obviously there are certain technicalities that need to be taken into consideration before using technology. But at the same time, I strongly believe that if you train students from day one that this is a tool that they need to use, and you need to be very strict about it. If they use it differently, then I usually exclude them from using the tool. So if they see, for example, the rest of the class working on their tablets, and they are at the corner working in a traditional way, obviously, this might actually act as an example. They feel that they're being punished, they feel that they're marginalized, and they avoid doing that. Yes, you have to be strict at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
But in the end, I think students eventually appreciate that. And people can be so creative when they use technology. For example, they can create beautiful journals, videos, posters. In the past, they couldn't. I mean, if you were not a very artistic type, you couldn't do that. I mean, I'm not very artistic type, but now I can easily create a poster of my students if I want to.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's a very good point. And thank you for taking those questions, two very important questions that we as an audience have. And once again, sir, thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening us with your thoughts drawn from your very vast experience.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences.
Pleasure is ours, sir. Pleasure is ours. And we hope to see you again. Thank you so much, sir.
Looking forward to our next meeting. Thank you.